Well, hello, everyone. Welcome.
Hey. So glad everybody is on board today because it's our premiere of our new interview series where we're going to be kind of peppering our live streams with interviews from very well-known and knowledgeable guests. And today, if you're looking for someone to show you how to maximize your potential and multiply your results, today's guest is the one. Vickie Helm is an international speaker and strategist. She possesses a unique perspective as both a recognized business and asset strategist and a relationship expert. She's the author of several amazing books, and my personal favorite is The Secret Joy of You. Oh, and I'm on the back. Vickie has uncovered the missing secret most of us have needed to know. When you have the courage and the will to peel away layer after layer of misperceived distractions and identities, you will find that the final layer unveils an extraordinary core of universal energy called joy. She reveals the very essence of life itself. When all is said and done, the primal motivation we strive to satisfy is our need to feel the immense fulfillment of joy and bathe our souls in its glowing and soothing feel. So please welcome Vickie Helm to our premiere of the Infinity
Welcome.
series.
I just want to say I'm really honored. Thank you so much, Ross and Gary. Wow, I'm just the premiere show. Wow, that's really something. Thank you for thinking of me and inviting me to your matrix.
You are always top of mind for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much, guys.
Just a few. So we've got Vancouver, Canada. We've got Monaco. We've got South Carolina. We've got Germany. We've got Edmonton, Alberta in the house. As you're chiming in, go ahead and let us know in the comments where you're chiming in from. And because this is a new format for us, and as far as an interview, please feel free as we're going through the interview to interact with us and let us know in the comments any questions that may come up from the conversations that are going on here, so you can be an active part of this, because we want you involved as we go through this with Vickie and see what evolves, what shows up.
Yeah, this is going
We
to
got
be a lot of fun.
Mexico. Awesome. So we're all over the place. That's awesome.
Global community expands and expands on a daily basis. We just love it.
Romania. Wow.
Romania, yeah. Well, there you go. Nice.
There you go.
Awesome.
Wow. Welcome the world.
So, Vickie, tell us about the secret joy of you. What brought you to write it?
Wow. Thank you for
And,
that.
and for that, you have, how many books do you have right now?
I'm getting ready to release my 41st book.
You're just showing off. Oh.
Yeah, I wrote The Secret Joy of You based on having conversations with a friend of mine. And so most people know me as a business strategist, and they don't know me as a, spiritual teacher. So what happened was she kind of called me out and said, "Why aren't you teaching this anymore? Why are you only teaching this?" And so I had to sit with it. And I really felt like when she asked me these questions, the thing that was there for me was the universe saying, "Why aren't you doing this?" Hey, I just want to make a shout out to Robert Stern. Nice to see you, Mr. Ambassador. So I wrote this book based on what I've learned over the years that has helped me achieve the success I have and listen to the divine tell me where to go, how to go, where to be. That conversation has to be happening from within myself. So in the book, I share how I peeled off the layers and what exactly is underneath the layers and how you can utilize it to give yourself a life you love and uncover your inner spiritual gifts that everyone has.
Nice.
That's great.
Mhm.
And it's kind of a
So for those of our
multi-layered
audience, sorry, Ross. So those in our audience, I think that you can resonate with a lot of what Vicky's saying because we just did a 5-day challenge on just that thing, right?
Mhm.
Your ultimate badass self and living life without compromise. So in when it comes to living life without compromise, why don't you tell us a little bit about that from a because you've got one of the books you've got is uh, the the she myth. I'm curious about that one.
Yeah, it's so interesting because I just want to can we just be really transparent and just okay. So I want to go from the beginning. Everyone has myths that hold them back. There's inner myths. They're
Yeah.
you call them beliefs, but they're not true. They're just myths. There are outer world myths that plague people, and there are also the myths that are kind of esoteric myths, is what I'm going to call them. They're
Mhm.
spiritual beliefs that we grow up with that control our lives and things and who we think and what we think is possible. What we lose in these myths are our own identity. Now, here's the thing with identity. Identity is potential. And the thing is, we see ourselves as human, we see ourselves as a man or a woman, we see ourselves as our career, our job. But the truth is, for me, that you don't have potential. You are potential. You are potential. And in that potential is anything you want to create, absolutely anything, including your own concept of yourself or your own identity. And what happens with that is that you have to remove the layers of your identity that you've learned and actually ask yourself, who am I? What am I? And when you get to the point where the who and the what is, I'm not sure, that's the slate. Now you can say, what do I want to become? What do I experience? What do I want to have? And in that, you're igniting potential because that's what you are, a pool of potential. And in this moment, my pool of potential has taken on a bodysuit that I call Vickie, that is experiencing being a woman. She is experiencing being an author. She's experiencing those things that she wanted to experience. My goal from the time I think I was 12 years old was to know who I am holistically. So here's
Nice.
the personality self. And then there's the inner self that is a pool of potential that I call soul. And that's exactly who I am. I am that pool of potential. So when we wrote the She Myth, what I do and the reason I write books is because when I did healing one on one, I could only see 9 people in a day. And I worked every single day for, a few years, 7 days a week, 9 clients a day, taught, masterminds and everything in the weekend. And I just realized that I couldn't talk to everybody all at once. I just couldn't do it. So writing became the way that I could put a message in a book. So here is the she myth that they're talking
Yeah.
about.
Yep.
And
Mhm.
what happens when I write in every book, whether it's a business book, whether it's a spiritual book, whatever that is that I'm writing about, I can weave that into the book so that the energy of that awakening can happen just within the words, and you understand who you become. So I wrote the she myth for women who were experiencing the the trauma of their beliefs.
Hmm.
Now, I want to talk about that. You can have inspiration and motivation or trauma from your own beliefs. So we wrote that and uncovered that because we wanted to empower women. That was a long answer to that question, but thank you for being
Okay,
with me.
that's great. That's
Vickie,
great.
how do you define that trauma of their beliefs?
Well, I think that trauma creates limitation.
Hmm.
And what happens is you hold on to the trauma as your reality. And the attachment to the trauma of what happened or whatever that happened, letting go of the attachment of that or that incident is how for me, I move past my traumas or whatever those things are. And I realize that traumas are limitations for experiences you've had. Like I've had post traumatic stress disorder. I don't have that now. And I've experienced the part of it. Now, the second I say I've had post traumatic stress disorder, not I have post traumatic stress disorder. We love to hold those things. We want to hold those things that are empowering to us, that let us remain in control of who we actually are. So
Absolutely.
the first lie that you're told is that you're a boy or a girl, and that boys act this way and girls act this way. That's your first traumatic limitation. That means I can't like this. I can only like
Yep.
this. And
Right.
there's
Put in the
something
box.
wrong
Yep.
with me if I
Hmm.
like this. There's something wrong with me if I enjoy that. We start capping ourselves right from early ages, and we learn this skill set of dampening ourselves instead of allowing the full potential that we are, not have. You don't have potential, you are potential. That's so important. And you get to, it's like everybody talks about identity shifts, let's have an identity shift.
Hmm.
Great. What do you want to shift into?
Hmm.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you say that that you say that we cap ourselves starting very, very young, when you say we, are you referring to ourselves individually, or are you referring to actually society?
Thank you for that. When I say we, I am, you guys have the infinity sign. So I'm going to just talk about that. For me, the infinity sign is right here where your mind and your soul are wrapped together. This is the we that I'm talking about, the
Okay.
outer and the inner self,
Okay.
the we that you are. So, in other words, I'm a soul and I have access to a brain and emotions. I have access to thoughts and the ability to bend reality. And I don't like bending or shifting. I want to say creating, because when you're like, I'm bending reality, there's such a force there. When you're creating reality, it's you being in charge of that piece
Right.
of potential that you are.
Hmm.
So that thing is in that infinity matrix, the we is the personality and the soul self, and that creates the human experience. It has your karmas and your teachings and your things. And really, I think the whole point of being human is to experience you as soul being able to create the reality you want with your mind and your soul helping you achieve that. To create reality is to empower yourself to realize that you are a creator.
Hmm. So when we're talking about the trauma, was there any particular event that sparked you?
And a particular event that sparked me. Well, when you came up, when you asked that question, what came up for me was when I was 3 years old, I could see aurically. And
Okay.
I remember going into my mother's room and tapping her on the shoulder and saying, Mom, the moon is staring at me. I was 3 years old. My languaging wasn't fit. Mom, the moon is staring at me. And she was like, And so when she went in my room, she closed the curtains, and this went on for weeks and weeks. Mom, the moon is staring at me. Mom, the moon is staring at me. And so what happened was she put these dark curtains up and everything else. There was no way a moon was staring at me. And finally, she asked me one day, "Where's the moon?" And I pointed above my bedroom door, and she looked and there was nothing there. And what she realized was I was seeing something that was a bright white light, and I didn't know how to describe it. That was the moon was staring at me. It was that light, and it was like, if it was an angel or whatever it was unnerving for me to see that they could. And that was the spot where she said, "Okay, there's something different with this child. She can see things that other people can't see." And so I have had that auditory and also, visual perceptions from the time I was a little girl. I just want to say thank you, Chris Ballard. Thank you for that. So when I was younger, I think that was the first impetus for me was that. I mean, that's what came up when you asked the question.
And so your mother encouraged this to continue, or did
Well,
you?
that's where the initial trauma happened, because
Right.
my mother didn't poo-poo it, and my father was super violent. He just beat the crap out of me for seeing it or doing it. So that's when it was absolutely shut down. So when at an
So that
older
started
age.
to create those traumas for you? Is that where some of that
Well,
trauma
my
concept
father was
came in?
kind of a bully. He was just a trauma in himself.
Got it.
But yes, that was the first time, because when suddenly my auric vision and everything, all my field gifts came back up, suddenly I was scared to death, because inside my cellular memory, I remember being beat for those things. Now, here's the real thing. The truth is this: you don't know whether this trauma is present life or past life moving forward. Like, how many times were you killed for having these gifts before? It's that same karma that comes up, but now you can see it with different eyes if you can hold on to it. It's like whatever karma is there for you. If you, I'm using karma because of lack of a better word, but whatever belief you have, you could have been holding on to that belief for a yuga. It's not something that everything is just created in this lifetime. We all
Yeah.
come in with our traumas and things.
Yeah, and I
So
think that,
I
I
don't
think
know.
that there's also the, just I think with the way that Ross and I have communicated to our audience here, and that there's also the potential and more and more evidence showing that there is also a probability of some of that could be happening from the future coming back too.
Correct.
Yes, yes. And that's
Right?
so interesting that you said that, Gary, because
Yeah.
isn't that what deja vu is? If
Yeah.
we take a look at deja vu, you're actually living it in your past. In the moment as you're living it right now, that's your past.
Yeah.
You've already lived it. We have a tendency to think that the dream world is not real, that this is reality. So if you have deja vu and you like, "God, I've been here before, I've done this before, I've had this conversation before," well, then aren't you doing it now in the past? So that collapse of there is no time and space on the other side of the veil, and that time and space is duality made. That was a great point, Gary. I really like that. That's so true.
Yeah. Yeah.
I like this exactly. Karma neurology, the research shows that stress during pregnancy affects the offspring for up to 7 generations. Wow, that's
Interesting.
great.
That's great insight. Whoever that Facebook user is, there is a link somewhere in the comments which gives us permission to see who you are. You need to give us permission to do that. You're watching it in
And
a place, probably in a
Linda
group.
White, thank you.
Hey,
Yeah.
Linda. Welcome back.
So, one of the other things I think also that we talk about here on the Infinity Matrix process program is what we call the 6 markers of transformation. And, I've always seen trauma as it's kind of a way that we compress all of those markers of transformation, but it impacts the first 5 of them. So what it does, it impacts your environment, it impacts your behaviors, it impacts your
Yes,
capabilities, and in fact your beliefs, and also then for your identity. And identity is the gateway to spirit, right? Which is
that's
what you
right.
talked about. So we do the Who Am I exercise with people in different ways as
Mhm.
well. And so to see this, the way that you're framing it here, kind of fits into the model of what we're teaching with our students and have been for the year and a half. Um, and one of the things we always come back to is, how do you get to a place of choice? How do you get to a place of what we
Yes,
call the choice convergence point, where all potential choices come together and are there for you as an option, which is the non-duality side of it, right?
beautiful.
So
Yeah.
so how do you get to that place for yourself? I think we had a little conversation earlier before we started here, but how do you get to that place for yourself?
Thank you. That's such an important question because to me, it's like when you get to the point of choice and potential, I um I know that inside my matrix there is a multidimensional me. And inside my multidimensional me, there is a master self. There is a beingness that I already am that is, I don't know, fully engaged, fully enlightened, fully whatever. My goal is to understand that I am experiencing personality right now and that I can bring this part of me, this master self, into the conversation anytime I want. That part of me, I connect with every single morning.
Mhm.
Now, it tells my personality what to do, when to do it, how to do it, where to go, and my goal in my life is to surrender to that part of me that maybe we can call our higher self and that awakened state. It happens moment to moment. The only way I can engage with it is to be fully present and mindful. And when I'm not, who's in charge? Well, then my thinking mind is in charge. I'm not in charge. My thinking mind is. So
Correct.
what happens is I have to catch myself moment to moment, realign it in that second, and listen, use my observer and say, what do you, I always ask, what do you want me to know? What do you want me
Nice.
to do?
Good.
Where do you want me to be present right now? That piece of me that is that soul self, that's how I practice being able to live the impulse, live the guidance, live the direction of of the divine in me. So, for example, when I write a book, I don't outline a book. I feel it here first, and I'm like, "Uh oh, there's something to be said." My thinking and my logical mind are not involved at first. I hear a title at a dinner table. I hear a title in a conversation. And then suddenly I'm like, okay. And then what I do is I sit down and I listen. And the outline of the book comes from listening on the inside. And then, oh, I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this. I'm talking about this. Then my mind comes on and gets on the computer and says, okay, bring up the Word document, make it this type over here, and I'll get going. But that's how I do everything. I've built 18 companies over my career, and 6 of them have tanked, and 13 have been successful. The 6 of them that tanked are those businesses that my mind was involved in. The 13 that were successful were when the divine said, go do this, go do here, go place this here. And that was so clear for me. I was like, okay, and a failed business hurts. It really hurts.
Yep.
So I don't want that, I don't want, so I always listen. I do not start a business. I don't start an idea for a business unless, absolutely, unless I'm being guided or told to. I don't
Hmm.
care who pitches me because I get pitched businesses every day. People are like, write this book with me, do this with me. Until I get that inner thing, I run everything through the filter of that higher self before I take a step forward. And
Nice.
that's how I do that.
So those businesses that failed,
Hmm.
um, they what caused you to start them?
Thank you.
Did you
Thank
did, I
you.
mean, was it like I got a bad feeling about this, but I'm going to do it anyhow, or somebody convinced
No,
you?
vanity. I mean, it got to the point where,
You should
I
be
was
honest.
I was young and successful,
Yeah.
and that helped me have a there's a difference between self-love and self-esteem. And I'm gonna really absolutely kill a bunch of people right now. Self-esteem is not real. Self-esteem is the personality. Self-love is the higher self. Self-esteem can be manipulated and controlled
Oh,
because self-esteem is everything outside of you. It's other people giving you kudos. It's other people giving you accolades. And because my self-esteem sucked at such a young age, when I had early success, I was
Hmm.
very manipulatable. And so people would pitch me and my brain would be like, oh, this is great, this is fun. And really what would be is the person that I partnered with wanted me to do like 90% of the work and they wanted to do 10. And I had no boundaries. I mean, you get bit in the butt a few times when you're younger. But what's really important is to understand that when you have self-esteem, you have attachments inside you when with self-esteem to the outside world. When you
Yeah.
have self love, you have attachments to your inner world and who you are in that inner world. And a lot of people say grow your self esteem, but that means other people have to, you know, ordain you as somebody who's done something successful. So
Yeah.
in my vanity, that's where the success, because you argue with your mind when you're younger, or at least I did, and it was like don't do it, and I was like but this is good, but this will work, but. And I told you earlier, my work is to surrender to that divine part of me that says, do this. And if I don't get a yes, I don't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's what you call your master self. We just call it the self, and the acronym we use is spiritually evolving life force.
Oh,
And
love it.
that's what we that's what we want our people to access and connect, because from that place
Hmm.
you are in this place of ultimate choice, infinite choice, where you're not bound by the constraints of other people's
Yes.
perception or okayness or whatever. And that's where again the badass self comes into play, is to live from that place, right?
Hmm.
And you talk about, I found it interesting how you write your books and stuff, having everything filter through that higher self. When I was practicing hypnotherapy and teaching and certifying hypnotherapists, one of the things I always told them was the key to being a top-notch hypnotherapist or change practitioner in any format is, what you need to do is, you don't have to write the scripts, you don't have to have this, there's no technique or strategy. Those are
Yeah.
nice to have, but the way to be really good at doing that craft of being a change technician is to take the journey first and then just describe it along the way.
Yes, that's the only way. It's like everybody tells you, like, no matter what, I don't care what business plan you have or whatever, it never goes according to plan, right?
Yeah.
So, that being aware, being in the moment, that first step, Gary, this is so important what you just said. So important. You can always figure it out along the way. The answer is going to come along the way. The whole point of the along the way in everything you do, every step, every moment, the universe is talking to you moment to moment. The question is, are you listening? Are you
Mhm.
observing? Are you witnessing? Are you
Yep.
mindful? Are you aware?
Yep.
That's the whole thing. That's the bit of work. And so
Mhm.
what you just said is so important. Thank you for that. I really, God, that was a good one. You guys should write down what he just said. That's really true. That being in the moment, all the answers are in the moment. All the answers are being awake in the process. It doesn't matter what you plan. It never goes according to plan.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
You
yet it
you
does go
can't you,
exactly to plan.
you can't be at the destination you want to be at unless you're in the moment on your way there.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right.
Right. Yeah.
So, I want to say, I always teach people how to build a life they love, absolutely
Mm.
love. And a lot of people are like, well, how do I build a life that I love? In that momentness, when you're in that moment, that's the first step into joy, being in that, trusting yourself, your whole self, not just your personality self, but your whole self, trusting all of you. And when you get to the point where you're trusting all of you and you step into that arena of meeting that part of you, you have to trust you. And your brain doesn't trust you. It trusts itself because that's what the brain is taught to do. It trusts itself. It's like, hey, don't cross the street until I tell you it's safe. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Now it's safe. Now you cross the street. It doesn't trust you. So what's happening is when you get to the point where you're first aligning with your greater self, then it's not that you have a purpose. You don't have a purpose. You are purpose, your potential and purpose in the moment. And when you're building whatever it is, the reason I use business is because when you have a business, I don't care what it is, I don't care what business it is, the first thing that comes up is the thing that's been holding you back all your life. So if you want to find out where you are on your journey to wakefulness, you start a business. The second you start a business, you'll find, if you're present, where you avoid, where you feel nervous, where you feel inadequate, where you don't feel enough, where you don't feel this. All of your unhealthy, traumatic beliefs come showing up when you start a business.
Yeah.
So the goal of starting a business is, it's like you can pay a therapist to go get therapy, or you can get paid to be a therapist and be in your business and let it show you and how
Yeah.
you can work through it in that moment. And Gary, what you just said about being present, that's where success happens from. It doesn't happen from your plan. It doesn't happen from the hustle and grind. It doesn't happen because you're, giving it all you got. It happens when you're listening and you're pursuing and trusting your own inner self. It says go left, go left. You can feel it in your gut. You can feel it in your soul. You'll have a complete alignment, body,
Yeah.
soul, and everything. And then you'll know.
Yeah.
So,
Absolutely.
so Vicki, a
And
lot of people are kind of thinking, how are you differentiating that self, that trust?
which is
How
exactly where I wanted to go to with it, Ross. So yeah, so because I find that yeah, stop thinking in my head. Um,
That's the great question that I
trust is a
came
huge
in.
thing, right? And I
Yes,
think that that there's I think there's also this the and we bang on it all the time, the drum that says, hey, it's not a this or that model.
yeah,
It's a this and that and that and that and that and all. It's not a
everything?
yeah,
duality, thing. And I think when people think trust, right, many times they slip into this idea that, oh, it's either I trust that it does or I trust that it doesn't. Or you
yes,
don't have trust, right? They,
yes,
they say, well, I don't have trust in the universe. I don't have trust in myself. But they're forgetting. No, you do have trust. You have 100% of trust all the time. It's just a matter of what you're trusting in.
that's right. That's right. And I want to talk about that because there's an innocence in trust. And a
Hmm.
lot of times in the human experience, not in the spiritual experience, but in the human experience, trust is violated over and over and over again.
Correct.
So what happens is it's like when I'm 3 years old, I trust what I see. And I'm trying to describe it to my mom. I get up out of bed and I walk over into her room and tell her, Mom, the moon is staring at me. You have to trust your perception. You have to trust, and that's the thing, because we're taught to distrust what we perceive. But when you're perceiving from a place of inner guidance, when you're perceiving from a place of spirituality, the trust feeling is different. And this is how I can relate it. You feel trust as a type of resonance. So everyone has a level of vibration when they're talking. So, for instance, everybody listening right now to our conversation is listening, and they're listening on multidimensional areas. The one that is silent, the one that is simply a sound, the tone, the flavor of the conversation, when it hits you, when we're talking and it hits you, your mind is going to come on, and that's what you're going to notice. But if you quiet the mind and you can feel the resonance of the conversation we're having. And that resonance is either going to hit you and say, yes, that's it. Yes. That
Feeling for.
yes,
Mm-hmm.
that yes is a type of resonance. So for women, I know we have felt this when you've been around a dangerous man and you've just met a dangerous man and your entire being is saying, get out. That's your mind that's saying, get out. But the perceiver of that, the perceiver isn't the mind. It's what comes through the chakras and the body and the resonance that is wafting off a person.
Mm-hmm.
When everything is perception that way, it's not just a dangerous thing, but moms, when their kids are at college and suddenly you get a hit, something ain't right with my daughter. Or my son, I got to go call them. And maybe their heart is broken or maybe they're nervous. You get that inner feeling. All of that is resonance. That
Mm-hmm.
resonance and that sound is a conversation. It just doesn't use words like we're using now. Words are slow. It's like one word at a time to
Yep.
create a thought. Well,
Mm-hmm.
the universe doesn't speak in that way. It speaks in this kind of resonance. It speaks silently in words, and it gives you what what do they call them? Thought packets or pools of information. And maybe it comes down through this way, or maybe it comes through your third chakra and comes up. You give it words. It gives you everything all at once, the solution, the everything all at once. So, to answer your question, trust to me is a vibratory feeling that you feel within yourself that defines your next move. Whether you can feel that silent resonance, there's more happening quietly than there is verbally.
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then along with that, once you feel that trust, you're like, okay, this is it. Then what's the next thing that happens? Is that logical brain kicks in and says, "Oh no, 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 no,
Nanoseconds.
no."
All the
And
sentinels,
go,
right?
"Oh
Yeah.
no, 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 wait, 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 wait. Think about this."
No, you can't. Yes, you can. Don't do this. Run away. Blah, blah, blah. It
Exactly.
doesn't trust you. It
Correct.
doesn't trust you. It trusts itself. And that's the issue. You have to have and build and develop discernment. And discernment is a full body experience. It is not just your mind. You cannot have discernment unless all of you is fully present there. Does it come in emotion and trust the emotion and feeling? Well, I'm going to say that emotion is that has two answers in there, Diane, and I want to answer that for you right now. In an emotion, an emotion is an after effect of the resonance coming in. So it's like if you say that pissed me off, your brain goes, well, hell yeah, all right, everybody drink some angry chemicals, and now you're pissed off. If you look at that, oh my God, that makes me joy. Emotions have meaning to them. When you get to the point where you are feeling an emotion, go one step deeper and think about what's coming through on the resonance level, because resonance also triggers emotions. What we call emotions, though, some of them is they're pure energies. So, for instance, love is not an emotion. It's an energy that provokes an emotion, but it is actually an energy that is universal, like air. And love is also so in the moment, so deeply rooted in resonance. That scale of love is what I call it. Is it's like you feel joy or you feel pain. That's a resonance. When you get to a point where, like David Hawkins has this in Power versus Force, he calls it his consciousness map.
Right.
And below 199,
Right.
all those emotions, I wouldn't trust them. When you get above 199, 200, you start turning into resonance. You start feeling stuff with, there's low resonance and high resonance. And low resonances can make you feel uncomfortable feelings. And
Mhm.
high resonances can make you feel all kinds of wonderful things. So, where is it on the resonance scale that you are feeling that inner emotion? And if it's a good resonance and it's absolutely there, and you have an emotion that says, yes, go for it, and you're excited and you're like, yes, I got to go for it. That prior resonance, that thing that said, go for it, that's why you're feeling that emotion, that excitement. So there's the under level of that. And that was a great filter, by the way. Thank you for that question.
Well,
Mhm.
when you look at that resonance
Resonance.
resonance, you can also use that as a tool, even when you're feeling those low resonance, because that's a signal.
That's right.
That is a signal as well as
Dominant
that.
right.
It's just like
Yep.
when we get that, oh, there's just something about this, or I got a feeling, or I'm
Yeah.
not sure. That's the signal that there's an issue and
That's
you
right.
need to take, a pause, step back, or get out. As you were saying
Yes.
with some of the some women who are, who have had bad relationships, is that they get that low signal, but then the brain takes over. Yeah, but what about this? What about this? What about this? What about this? Maybe it'll never happen again. What about this? What about this? Then they call their mom. Mom's, well, what about this? What about this? What about this? And then all of a sudden, that low signal that they got has been basically overruled,
That's right. That's
and
right.
then now they've stepped into virtually a lifetime of this despair.
Yeah, I think that's the whole point is when you mistrust yourself, you
Mhm.
automatically become a people pleaser. You step out of who you are and you start following other people because your mind has said, I don't trust you. The thing is, you aren't your mind. And I want to go back to this over and over and over again. You have a personality which you are living right now. My personality is Vickie. And when I die, this personality stays here. Everything about the life and who I am and what I look like and what I experience, everything about that stays there. The actual thing I am, which is soul, that is what gets to go on and recreate a new existence. And maybe I'm not Vickie that time. I'm enjoying Vickie right now. This is I get to be Vickie right now. I get to use all the talents of whatever Vickie is. But that's not who I am. That's just right the role we're playing. So the most important thing is you are a soul and you have access to your emotions. You have access to your mind. You have access to your physical resonance. And that's important because you can feel in your body something ain't right. You can feel in your body, oh my gosh, I need to go this way or that way. You can listen, you can hear on your outer ear and your inner ear, your
Mhm.
outer eyes and your inner eyes, all of these things, that's who you actually are. And what happens is we start confusing ourselves and saying, hi, I'm Vickie Helm. I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this, I'm this. And then we hold on to it and stay. Whether it's I'm smart or I'm stupid or I'm this or I'm that. And I want to tell you, this is so important to understand because thoughts can only do two things. That's it. They can only do two things. Yes, you can have 60 or 90 or 100,000 thoughts a day. It doesn't matter. They can only do two things. Your thought is either going to impair your abilities or empower your abilities. And
Good.
that's it.
Mhm.
That's it. So a thought is nothing more than a tool. It isn't anything real. So when you get to the point where you're asking yourself, who am I? You get to choose who you are and you can let go of all the thoughts of other people, because the question is, are you empowering your potential, or are you impairing your potential? Or that's it. And it's like you're clay. You get to mold whatever you want to be or who you want to be. And it's not like those people who are very well, I'm a teacher and that's it. You have closed your potential. I mean, if you told me back in high school that I was going to write 41 books and have built 13 companies and done all this spiritual work, I'd have been like, I'm working at McDonald's right now. You know, how is that going to happen? You can't say that. You are everything, all in this compass, micro, macro, everything. And the beauty of the infinity matrix, the beauty of what Gary and Ross do is help you have access to that, help you learn how to use it, not just know it's there, but actually use it so that you can create a life you love. And that's why I love your work. I love what you do.
We
Thanks.
appreciate that
Thanks.
very, very
Yep.
much.
Love it. They do the real work so that you can have the real life.
That's right.
Mm.
Oh, that's great. That's so great. And for those of you who are not familiar with Vickie, Vickie, you have what's called the Coffee Break Show.
Yes, I do. I have the Coffee Break Show.
That's awesome.
Thank you. You guys have actually been on the Coffee Break Show, you know? Yeah.
Yes,
So
actually, that's why we
connect
wanted
with
to
me
be
there.
our very first guest, because your show actually was the catalyst that launched Gary and I. We've been working on the infinity process for, over a decade. And then when everything was happening with COVID, we're
Oh,
just like,
yes.
I think where we both kind of at the same time when I think it's time.
Yeah.
And then you contacted me and said, hey, you want to be on the show? And we're just like, this is it. This is
Yeah.
it. It's time. And from that moment, we launched. So that was all because of you.
Thank you. Thank
And,
you. I appreciate being the catalyst for that, because right now is the time. And if you're a healer or you're whatever work you're doing right now that is in that spirituality, your time is now. Now, now, now.
Sure.
Step on the
Yeah.
gas pedal. Yes.
it's time.
Thank you. Thank you for that. There's so many people on your show here with so many wonderful comments. Thank you so much.
Yeah,
Mhm.
we're really proud of them. We've created an amazing global community of like-minded individuals
Yes.
that, with everyone, pretty much in the same direction, the same focus in their life is to, help the world, help each other, help society, do whatever they can, whether it be big or small, it doesn't matter. Each piece is going to make a difference in somebody's life.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And that's what it's all about. And
You know, it's so interesting you're saying that. When I was before COVID, when I was traveling around speaking on stages everywhere, I was at an event, and I thought at the time when I took the event, it was on the East Coast. So, and I'm Colorado. So what happened was I knew I had to take flights and everything else. But on this particular one, I heard take a road trip. And I was like, okay. So we drove from Colorado to the East Coast for this one event. And when I got there, I thought it was the event itself. And what happened was the actual moment wasn't at the event. It was actually at the house of a friend I was staying at. And at that moment, I realized I was sent by the universe, disguised as going to this event, to be at this house to create a type of healing in the house. And you don't know when you're traveling, everything's unfolding in the way it's supposed to. Can you pay attention? And you have to use you to pay attention, not your mind to pay attention. You pay attention. Your mind
You have to
should
be
be,
aware of what Ross and I call your sync portals, right? Sync portals are synchronicities that are like gateways to another alternate realities. And so the more you're tuned into what those are, the more you can capture those magical
those
moments
moments.
that are
Yeah.
always present, right?
Yeah, those moments are so well, the thing about them that's so cool, the thing about them that is absolutely cool, and I'll tell you a real life story, is that that's how you build faith. The faith comes, it's never faith, you don't master faith. Faith is the next, and then the next one, and then the next one. So when I first started, I was out of college, have a degree in accounting, I'm working at a big firm, and I'm in those Dilbert cubicles, and I hear this voice tell me, go tell your boss this very spiritual message. And I was like, no, I'm in an accounting office and I'm in a suit and a tie. This is business as usual. No. And I hear it day after day after day. It was kind of like that scene in Ghost where Whoopi Goldberg is, trying to sleep, and Patrick Swayze keeps saying to her, I'm Henry VIII, I am. If you don't go do this, I'll just sing this forever. And you'll just, and so finally I'm in the office and I pushed the desk back and I was like, fine, I'll go do it. So I'm all nervous and everything. And I walk into my boss's office and she's sitting at the desk. And I started with, please don't ask me how I know this. And my voice is cracking and I'm really nervous. And I just said it to her. And then I was kind of like, and that's all I have to say. And I turned around and was walking down, they, all shook up, everything else. And I sat down at my desk. And, about 40 minutes later, my boss walks into my cubicle very quietly and she says, would you like to have lunch with me today? And I was like, oh, so that one step, scared crapless, I'm stepping into that faith of doing that. It's like the first time you follow your higher self doesn't mean you're going to be like, I'm following my higher self, I'm so confident. It's going to push you in a way where you have to develop the faith to listen to it while your mind is going, don't do it. That's the thing, that's that practice of being able to build that faith long term.
Right. So what
I'm
happened at
really
lunch?
well, I can't divulge the conversation, but the conversation was perfect. There was some marital issues and some things that I learned about my boss at that time. We became great friends, really great friends,
Cool.
and are still friends today, actually, from
Mhm.
that one incident. But can you please explain how we can do to control our emotions? Well, I know what I do to control mine. I don't try to control them, but I pay attention to them.
Yeah.
So I see emotions as something that there's two things. There's something that's guiding you to say you're not in that alignment when you have an emotion, or it's guiding you to the next thing that you should have. Emotions are a big thing for me because what you say to yourself can trigger an emotion. And so the first thing is, what kind of emotion am I having? Am I having a higher self emotion or a lower self emotion? Am I having something above 200 or below 200? If it's below 200, like if I'm angry or fearful, the first thing I ask myself is, what did you just say to yourself, Vickie, that made you scared or angry? And then I'll literally, what did you say to yourself? And I'll say something like, they did that on purpose. And I think, well, no wonder why you feel angry. Look at what you're telling yourself. Look at what you're actually saying. Everybody who said they did that on purpose, everybody who says that to themselves is going to be pissed off. Everyone. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter. It's not to me. And even if you're suspicious about that, when I ask myself that question, what I want is going back to the joy, to the equanimity, to that higher self in that instant. So if I am overwhelmed, is a big one. If you become overwhelmed, you are overwhelmed because your mind is saying stuff to you like, I'm not good enough, I'm not smart enough, I'm not this enough, I'm not that enough. That overwhelm is a trigger from your mind that is squelching your potential.
Yeah.
And so whatever I do, if I feel something that's uncomfortable, right then I nail it. Even every time I have a negative kind of feeling, I go right after it because there's a gem underneath it, a gem that's going to take you to your higher self and your potential when you are with it. The worst thing you can do is believe what you think when you're in a state of compromise
Yep.
Yeah.
or diminished capacity.
Mhm.
Yeah, you know,
Exactly.
and also to add on to that, Myra, you know, remember that emotions, any emotion can only neurologically and chemically last 15 seconds in your body. Anytime after that, it's you continuing to recreate it.
Ooh,
So
that's a
use
cool
them.
piece of insight.
Yeah. So they all serve a purpose for as long as you need them to serve a purpose.
Mm.
And so the questions you ask are going to either direct you on finding that answer out or continuing that purpose to stay there till you figure it out.
Yeah,
Right. So ask more empowering questions, like Vickie mentioned, is you tune into it, allow it to be the emotion, but realize that after 15 seconds, it's then a choice to continue that or choose something different.
Exactly.
that's such an empowering insight. I had no idea that it was only 15 seconds.
And-
It's so the world has so much gotten to the point where you have to fight for your own attention. And I mean that in the most clear way.
so-
We don't have I could listen to you for hours. Linda, thank you so much. Thank you. That's a kind thing to say. We're to the point where we don't have just propaganda. We are being assaulted, literally assaulted
yeah,
by propaganda, disinformation. You are you can be hooked into and pulled out of you out into the world and just be looking at the world and, oh my God, this is going to happen, this is going to happen, this is going to happen. And it can be in the other way too. You'd be like, look at all the possibilities, blah, blah, blah. But even with all the possibilities and look what's going to happen, you're still pulled out of you. And you have to be careful because it's seductive. Attention can be seduced from you. It can
correct.
be feared from you. It can be everything but you coming back to you. And to me, the center of you is where if you're seated in the center of who you are, you know who you are. I'm a soul. I have access to, and you actually understand that your thoughts can assail you from outside of you. If I think too much outside in the world, I will disconnect from who I am and what I am. And when I do that, it's unconscious and it's painful. Full stop. It's painful because you're no longer with you or what your potential is saying to you, what you're saying to. But here's the thing, if you trust that inner potential of who you are potential, it will tell you how to avoid and move out of and steer clear from, because your resonance is so high, it can't act inside of this unconsciousness. If you hold your resonance up here, just like Gary and Ross are teaching you, if you hold your resonance up here, you bypass all the calamity that's down here because it doesn't rule who you are. It doesn't rule your thoughts. And when you get to the point where you're in command of your thoughts, which I'd love to say I have a perfect score at, but I don't. I just have a higher batting average than the average
Yeah,
person,
no,
but I still get entangled, but I get entangled for a shorter period of time. It's a practice. And
yeah,
once you do that, you'll either choose, do I want to live with my thoughts that are impairing me or my thoughts that are empowering me? And you get to choose. You
that's
can choose it.
fantastic. Well, Vickie, we want to respect your time. We're coming
Thank
up
you.
on our hour. Please share with everyone how they can get a hold of you. Talk about the coffee break show so they can. I mean, the coffee break show is my favorite. I mean, it really is, and I get onto it as much as I possibly can because she has the most incredible guests.
Thank you.
including Gary and I.
Yes.
But
Yes.
but still, it's a fantastic show. So please tell everybody how they can get a hold of you.
You can find everything about me on vickiehelm.com, vickiehelm.com. It's right there. But Vickie is spelled Vickie, and Helm, HELM, .com. You can tune in to the Coffee Break Show. I'm everywhere. We're on iHeartRadio. We're on Pandora. We're on Amazon's Audible. We're on Roku TV, on Amazon TV. We're kind of everywhere. You can tune in wherever you want. I'm on iTunes, Spotify, blah, 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 blah. And you can join me for conversations with really brilliant people. I do have to say this. I had these two on my show. They broke the show. We had so many people on when they came on. We were like, oh my God, I couldn't even keep up with the comments. I just finally let it back. I definitely am going to have them back on the show as well. Yeah. And so you can see the Coffee Break Show also on Facebook at the Success Secrets for Business, Family, and Life channel. You can hook up with me at Facebook. Just type my name in and I'll appear. And, you know, I have a fan page and a personal page. I think my personal page is almost maxed out. I leave a couple of spots open, I think. But yeah, and of course, any book that you find on Amazon.com under Vickie Helm. I do business and spirituality. Those are my two things. And you can read, I have a new book coming out, which is Cash Flow Mojo. It's how to get rich, stay rich, and, you know, have
I can definitely say I read the manuscript for that, and I mean, I pulled so many nuggets out of that book. So definitely a must pick up.
Thank you. Thank you. That's right. He endorsed that book for me. Thank you. Really appreciate you all. I learned so much. I could listen to this a few times over. Thank you. Thank you so much. And that's where you can find me. You guys, it has been a complete joy to hang out with you. And we should hang out more often, just have coffee.
Well, I tried.
For sure.
I tried, but somebody didn't show up in Denver. I promise we'll do that.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. And for those of you that are regulars here, remember that Saturday morning we still have Down the Rabbit Hole, so you can come and join us for live conversations. Vickie won't be there with us, unfortunately. However, I mean, she's open to, but you know, it's for us to have conversations with. We can take what we've gone through here and dive deeper into that and see where that takes us for conversation and whatever else shows up. So that's hackingtheinfinitematrix.com/rabbit hole to get your Zoom link for that. We can see then. And then next Thursday, we're back onto our regular scheduled programming. And thanks everyone for showing up. We really appreciate it. If you have any questions that come up from you, come back to this post and drop them there, and then we'll either for any of us, and then if it's for Vickie, then we'll just, you know, we'll tag her and have her come back and respond to it.
Fantastic. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Vickie.
Thank you. Thank you.